we recording? Hello, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the last pulse of the year. Well, that's not true. Adam and Tom will be pulsing next week. So welcome to the last full group pulse of the year.
Grunt, snort, scratch, scratch.
We have about 50 items, I think, this week. So we'll go through them pretty quickly and give you guys an update of what's going on. So Tamara, why don't you kick us off on what is in development in Microsoft?
All right, Microsoft Teams, video filters in Microsoft Teams meetings. So the video filter is going to allow participants in Teams meetings to augment their video stream with visual effects. The effects are provided by app developers on the Team platform. That's coming out in February of 2023.
I was reading an article on that one this morning, and there's a lot of people going, and what does this mean? Because people who know far better than I do, they're like, there's really no API points to do something like that. And to do it, depending on how they do it, there could be a lot of traffic going back and forth. So there's a lot of confusion as to what this one's actually going to end up being.
Yeah, so I actually tried to do a little bit of research on this. They released something, I think, in April of last year when you're going through and looking at it, what they can do. And a lot of the visual effects they released were stuff like reducing blur and stuff like making your image sharper or reducing brightness. It wasn't like fun, silly things. It was stuff to like actually make your video quality better and make it more manageable when you're in situations like that. So if like you're using like a not ideal situation or you're not ideal lighting or something like that, they were effects that you could purposely choose to do on the video to make the video a nicer quality or a better quality or make yourself better viewable.
So it won't be somebody going, I swear, Your Honor, I am not a cat.
Yeah, hopefully not.
It could be, though. We are not ruling out. The guy who wrote this is like, does this mean you're just going to be able to get like a sparkle effect in your company logo behind you? It's like, but wouldn't it be cool if we had like a dancing Clippy that could attend your meetings? Like, no, it really wouldn't.
I need a little bit more glitter and sparkle in my meetings. I set up my Stream Deck this week, and it was like, for productivity, it was like you can have a sound so that when you say cool things in meetings, you can push the button and the sound automatically plays. And I'm like, I don't think I need that.
So I didn't mean to hijack you there, Tamara.
My own clap effect when I say good things, or my own laugh track, so that if no one laughs at my jokes, I can have my own laughter sound play. That would be awesome. Funny. That would be funny. Yeah, that would actually be funny because sometimes people don't laugh at my jokes; they just look at me. That would maybe I'll try that. Okay, cool. Tom, what do you think is cool this week?
So a couple things that I see up at the top, at least. Microsoft Teams suggested files in chat. So if you're in a chat now and you're going back and forth and AI figures that, hey, based on what you're talking about, here's a file that you may want to use, it's going to be able to surface that for you really quickly. So you'll be able to respond to the chat message and attach the file in one click, which is kind of cool. Plus, in Microsoft Outlook, search now shows results from Teams messages. So again, it's going to make it a lot easier if you're in Outlook trying to find a conversation or an email or whatever. Instead of having to go to two different places to do it, you could technically do all your searching from Outlook and also get the Teams content that you may have had in a Teams conversation if you can't remember quite where something was said. So I think that's cool. Both of those are coming in February. The suggested files is going out across the spectrum to everybody. The search result in Outlook is just going to worldwide.
So two things for GCCH and DoD. That's the Viva briefing and digest emails. They're in development, so that should be hopefully coming around March next year. So excited about seeing some of those features catch up. So excited about that. How about you, Adam? Anything exciting?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One non-nerdy one that just jumped out to me that I thought was kind of interesting because I looked into this because when I read it, I was like, wait, I think I've seen that before. Microsoft 365 Microsoft Feed.
Mhm.
It says that Microsoft Feed provides you with a mix of relevant content from across Microsoft 365 that helps you discover and learn about people and interests relevant at work. The feed is personal to you and will only see documents and other content that is explicitly shared with you. So two
Delve,
things jumped out at
delve.
me. Yeah, one, this basically sounds like Delve or like a non-licensed required version of Delve. But the My Feed is actually a web part you could have added to SharePoint Online for a while now. That would basically let you go through and, have this same type of content ingested into a page or a My Site in SharePoint. So it sounds like they're basically taking the web part, what it would do in SharePoint, and just making it in a more accessible or easy place to view for people. That again is maybe potentially not going to require the licensing that Delve would. So thought that was neat and kind of interesting. And then there are a couple nerdy ones that I thought were worth mentioning. One, just because I thought this was cool. Communication compliance, ability to analyze Microsoft Teams meetings transcripts. Basically, the idea comes down to if you're going through and doing a Teams meeting and it captures the transcript, which is, everyone talking in the meeting, that can now be analyzed by communication compliance. If you remember some of these that we've talked before, communication compliance looks to the communication going through on your employees to look for stuff like harassment and, misogyny and racist behavior and bullying and things that you wouldn't want one employee doing to another. It will go through and proactively look for that type of stuff to see, hey, is maybe these people have an inappropriate relationship at work that you should know about and stuff like that. So the fact that that's going to also be able to go in and pull in the transcripts from Teams meetings, it's kind of cool. And I feel like that actually is a pretty big deal when you talk about, in general, I know it always gets weird when you talk about this stuff that can kind of be interpreted as Big Brother, but realistically, when you look at how they're designing the communication compliance piece, it's really designed with a purpose of protecting someone who maybe isn't protected in a environment in the way that they might have been if they're going to the office and other people could see what's going on, right? In a digital age where a lot of people are remote now, stuff like that gets harder to do. And so it's really designed, I think, from a good place. And the fact that they're basically adding an entire extra medium that wasn't covered before, which is going to basically be Teams meetings, just by ingesting the transcript, I think is super cool.
Cool.
There's one more I'd like to toss out there.
Yeah.
Visio personal app in Microsoft Teams. So Visio is going to be available as a personal app or a private workspace in Microsoft Teams. Now, what this means, with a private workspace, users will be able to view and edit Visio files in a central location without leaving Teams. When using the Teams desktop app, users will be able to use the pop-out app option to open Visio in a separate window, allowing users to continue using Teams chat, call, collaboration, meeting capabilities. So, if you're a Visio user and you make a lot of use of that, it might be nice being able to actually do a lot of the Visio stuff from within Teams and not have to keep coming out to the Visio app or the browser or whatever. That's due for January, coming up very close, and it'll be GCC High, actually the whole thing, GCC High, DoD, and worldwide. So look for it soon with a tenant near you.
Awesome. Well, I don't have anything else in development. Does anyone else have anything they want to share, or should we move on to rolling out?
Good to move on.
Rolling on.
Rolling on. All right, Tamara, take us into rolling on.
Sure. I'm trying to decide between these two because I don't want to take them all.
Do them both. Merry Christmas.
Right. Thanks. I didn't get you anything. Microsoft Teams delete chats. So with delete chats, users can permanently delete entire conversations from their view. This does not affect what other users in the chat see. So you're not deleting the whole conversation. You're removing it from where you can see it.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's nice. It'll help keep things clean, but I'm satisfied with hide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they're changing it to delete. Maybe delete means you can't get it back even if you search for it.
That could be.
Then the other one is Microsoft Teams add people to a group chat with app mention. So add new participants to the chat with an @mention, removing the need to navigate to the add dialog. When adding a new participant, you can control how much of the chat history to share. So that's supposed to be rolling out right now. And that is rolling out to everybody. Everybody gets an @mention.
Yeah, I think
Like
that'll
we
be
have
nice to bring new
Oprah.
people in real quick.
Yeah, so those are the two I'm most excited about.
One that I saw out there, which won't affect me because I basically very rarely ever do this in an iPhone. I don't own an iPad. That is Microsoft Teams, multitask with picture-in-picture on iPhone and iPad. So this new picture-in-picture mode for Microsoft Teams lets you see your meeting in an adjustable window while using other apps on your mobile device. So for all you multitaskers out there, we're now making it easy for you to look like you're paying attention at work, but you're playing a game. So that is coming out this month, which is almost at the end. And that is coming out across the board also.
Cool. Well, I've got one. This is an admin center one, but about productivity and adoption scores. So I feel comfortable stealing it from Adam. It's rolling out now, but a release in June, the calendar year 2023. So it's going to be rolling out for a while, but it's around the adoption score people experiences. And so it is the ability for group level experiences across how things are going and reports that are going out. Has to be done in groups of at least 10 or more, so that it doesn't allow you to have a group of 3 and you could then say, well, you're giving me group information, but I know it's Tamara because we're only in a group of 3 and I can tell it's not Tom. So it has to be a group that's big enough to keep it aggregated up so we don't know who the people are and you can't singly track people. But then it allows you to then, based on what's going on in the group, it's going to communicate messages out like, did you know you could do this and you could do that? And so it's just getting into that adoption behaviors. And so then being able to push out reports based on the activity that's going on. So some very cool features that are coming out there, and a great way to kind of watch what's going out there and take advantage of that. So that's all rolling out.
There were several updates to the adoption people score, adoption score people experiences. There were 3 or 4 different updates that are all rolling out this week.
Oh yeah, I missed a couple other ones too, but yeah, they're all around kind of that same same concept around the people-y experience, and then notifications you can get and all of that. So yeah, very interesting area to watch. And a good area that you should be paying attention to, quite honestly, to see what you can do there. So awesome. Adam, anything for you in rolling out?
Yeah, so there's 2 things that I want to mention. One of them I thought was kind of cool. It's related to labeling if you're using labeling in 365. So if you are a VBA developer, if you're not aware, just stands for Visual Basic, which is Microsoft's coding platform. So if you're a Visual Basic coder and you're going through and do development work, they're basically making it so if you go through and use convert to PDF on anything from a basic Word document, so say you're going through and you're taking a form that your company has and making it into PDFs or some process that you have. Now, if you're doing that conversion through Visual Basic with what you're going through and doing, which most people, if they're developing their own stuff, would be, it will basically maintain the labels that are already associated with the Office documents for the PDFs that are going through and being created out of it too, which is actually a pretty cool concept when you're going through and talking about data loss prevention and how you try to label stuff to do governance inside of your system. The fact that you can maintain that label experience even through automation of doing a conversion over to PDF is actually pretty cool. Now, you could have labeled PDFs for a little bit, but you would have had to individually do that. You could have a Word document that had a label on it, and if that was converted to a PDF, you had to manually go in there and convert that PDF on your own. So the fact that it does it automatically now is kind of cool and something that's kind of neat. And then the other one that I thought was actually super interesting and kind of fun, even though it's not overly nerdy, Microsoft Teams add people to a group chat with an @mention. So you've been able to do this in like email for forever. If you're typing an email and you go to @mention someone, it just adds them to the to line to include it in there. But now if you're like talking with a group of people in chat, and you want to like, oh, like, someone, like say someone reaches out to you to ask a question, you need to pull in one of your colleagues because they might know best. Instead of having to go in and click on the people at the top and go in and type in their name and find them and add them in, you can literally just @mention and then go through and start typing. And when you send that message by @mentioning them, it will automatically pull them into that chat and bring their attention to their @mention of what you're trying to go through and address them. I see this as just an easy, low-hanging fruit win that kind of brings the functionality in Teams with @mentions to where it already is in Outlook and stuff like that.
Do we still have?
That's
Jennifer
it for my
on the
side.
line?
I'm here. Okay.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I had to
Lost your camera there.
go off camera for a second. Anyone else have anything for rolling out?
I'm good.
I do not. All right.
No, all good.
Tom, take us into launched.
I got to be really careful here because I got to make sure I leave something for Tamara.
What about me?
Okay. Well, you'll take whatever's left. I know that. I've seen you do it. It's like awesome. She's going to do cleanup here. A couple of them, Microsoft Stream, and they're both Stream related. One is generate captions for a video uploaded to SharePoint and OneDrive for DoD. And the other one is add or edit captions and transcript for a video in SharePoint or OneDrive in DoD. So this is for all the stuff in, Stream version 2.0 or Stream on SharePoint, as they call it. DoD is now going to be able to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of what they can do with captions and what they can do for editing and cleaning up captions and transcripts. So.
Well, which is cool is because remember when it first came out and it didn't have any of these features and everybody
Right.
was like, what the heck? And we're like, don't worry, guys, it's coming. It's coming. So Merry Christmas, it came. So, right, we're a month or two later. So they came through pretty quickly on delivering that. So I was really happy to see that.
Kind of left you with the one at the very bottom of the list there, Tamara, if you want it.
Thanks for pointing that out, Tom.
You're welcome.
Hey, Tamara, why don't you go with the one Tom left you?
I think I'll go with the one Tom left me. Microsoft Teams receive all group chat messages with resource-specific content. So the resource-specific content, or I can't believe they came up with an acronym, RSC, permission model, originally developed for Teams Graph API, is extended for chat and channel scope. So using RSC, you can now request team owners to consent for a bot to receive their user messages across standard group chats without being @mentioned. Okay, I don't understand that at all. I just read the description and I still don't understand it. Somebody explain this to me, because the people who are listening to this webcast, this podcast, whatever we're calling it, aren't going to get what this does out of that. Anyone have anything?
Yeah, so
go ahead, Adam.
So what they're talking about here is resource-specific content. So it's going through and having content that's specifically scoped towards a person or a team or something you're going through and doing. The concept behind this was originally developed for the Graph API, which basically means it was originally developed for people that would go through and do their own custom coding, where they could go in and pull information out that they wanted. But they've extended it outside of the Graph API to basically add in chat and channel scope. So you can basically go in and from team owners request consent to basically have a bot automatically go in there and pull in content on a specific resource. So you could go in and say, hey, I want to pull in all the content that's being talked about, for me needing to do something. And I'm going to have an automation bot go through and pick that up and pull it out for me so I can go in and review it later and have that configured and going through without anyone having to call it out or anyone point anything specific. You basically using a function of development, the API, to say, this is the specific resource, or this is a specific scope I want you to go in and pull content on, and it will go in and just aggregate that content for you.
Okay, that's cool. That description was not cool. That description was cool.
Because Adam's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but we'll take what we can get.
All right, Adam, close us out with the last two, my friend.
Yeah, so the one that I'll mention that I think is kind of interesting is the automatic management of allow expiration for tenant allow block list. So this is basically related to you going through and doing filtering on messages coming through and what you're going to be going through and doing with it. So what this does is there's a tenant allow block list that basically goes through and you can say, all right, I'm fine going through and working and getting email from this people. I don't want to get email from these people. And you can go in and configure that. Well, right now, if you go in and you do an allow, it by default expired after 30 days. And so you go in and say, I want to go in and I want to get messages coming from this partner that I had. Now, keep in mind, this is different from a full like B2B connection that you do with another company where you're kind of setting up as a partner. This is just you going through and saying, I want to accept messages from them. I want email to be coming through. The reason you'd potentially do this is maybe they're on a blacklist from sending, or maybe they're using a third-party sending service that's going through and filtering something out in the way that it shouldn't. So you basically go in and say, I want to be getting messages from this. But Microsoft would expire that after 30 days because by default, your behavior shouldn't necessarily be, I'm just whitelisting everything that's perfectly fine, and that's what I'm going to go through and do. But that then meant that if they expired it and it wasn't resolved, you could potentially miss legitimate business messages. So they're now going to take a more dynamic approach to it where you go through and add people to the allow list. And it says, and I don't know what this means, we'll have to see how this plays out in functionality. It says Microsoft will automatically extend or remove allow rules based on an assessment of the particular entity. So I'm guessing they go in and they make a judgment based off of who you're saying you want the messages to be coming in from on, okay, yeah, this seems like this is legitimate. We're going to allow it to come in, or now we'll go ahead and remove this. So we'll see what that looks like in practice, but cool concept at least.
Cool. Well, to close us out with the last one, there is a new adoption score page that tells you about your meeting experiences. So it's going to give you a score on the productivity of your meetings and how good they are and what you should be doing to change them. But on the page, it's going to give you a better experience to tell you what are the inputs that are judging your meeting. So it's going to judge you and then tell you how and why it was judging you. So at least it's going to give you some context. So it's going to better tell you why you did good or did bad. Or did good or need improvement, which is good for all of our meetings. So at least they're giving us context to help us improve. So I like that there. So things that are coming, things that have launched. So exciting stuff there. Nothing canceled this week for Christmas. And let's see. So Tom and Adam will be back next week to close us out for the year. And then Tamara, Tom, and Adam and I will be back next January for the 2023 Pulse. So thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye now.
Bye, y'all.